Quindi partiamo. So, okay. So the food at Casa della Pace, this is our topic this morning. I think food, not I think, it's a fact that food is a really essential part in our life. And through food, we relate to so many different aspects of everything, in fact. And I think it's not worthless to remind us that the food as we know it, it is as it is thanks to the rhythm of the planet, night and day, the seasons, the movement of the moon and the sun, and so on. So there's no need of going to that, but just to have a short reminder that this is where we live, actually, and even the food in the supermarket is coming from somewhere on this planet, and this exists thanks to all this. And then through the food, we connect with the earth that has been producing the food. And it is quite different if the earth is our vegetable garden, or it is a crop, industrial crop, or it is some distant land unknown for us. So even this, I think it makes quite a difference, and we should be aware of that. We should be aware of how the land is treated, if it is polluted, if it is carried after, if it is heavily mechanized. So all this is also part of our food. It makes changes that are not perhaps totally related to the quality of food, but in a way there is an impact through what we eat on the earth. And we relate also with the people that is growing the food we are eating. The people that might be exploited in certain countries and certain places, or might do that with pleasure and love. And this is a completely different way of dealing with food. It makes really a difference. Again, perhaps it's not really in terms of quality. A very good coffee might come from a place where people is really exploited. Or it might come from a small cooperative where people, they deal with their job in a more human way. So again, we can be aware of this and to connect with that in a way or the other. And food is heavily connected with all the business, the financial side of it, because billions of people are eating every day. There are billions of dollars or euros that are moving around the world, and there are heavy interest. So huge companies, as Nestlé or other companies, Unilever, they are having huge profit out of this, and there is how to say, an exploiting mind behind it. It's not, and again, it's not so quickly related to the quality of the food. The quality of the food could be excellent, again, but the mind behind it is a certain mind. It's a mind that perhaps is not really clean. I wonder if it is really clean and really clean in terms of wanting the good of the whole, of the planet, of the people, of the workers and so on, or just working for profit. And through food, since millennia, we connect with our communities. Recipes they express the intelligence of a community. Hummus in Lebanon, or I don't know, the dal in India, or the pasta and pizza in Italy, and other foods around the world. They express the tradition, the intelligence, I would say, of a community. And there is all a social side of food that we cannot forget. It is important to see how we share food with others, and this sharing has a meaning. It's not just eating together, it's more, it's something more. We are together and doing something that is essential for life, and we are choosing something that we like, that is connecting us with our bigger communities and with the planet. And through food we connect with our body. That is perhaps an odd way of saying it. We first thing, we connect with the taste of the food, with the pleasure we can have, or an unpleasant sensation, with the memories that are connected with the food. Perhaps some food reminds us of our childhood, or our grandma, or particular situation where we have been living, going through. The food connects also with our health, of course. And this recently has become an overwhelmingly important side. Scientific researches done during the past 40 or 50 years has been showing how important it is, the nutrition in relation with our health. And for nutrition, what is seen is that what we really need more, rather than fat and protein and carbohydrate, that are obviously the basis of our nutrition, but what we need more are vitamins, micronutrients, minerals, antioxidants, and most of these ingredients, most of these are found in vegetables and fruits rather than in animals' products. So this might suggest that we should rely more on vegetable and fruits and cereal and whole grains than in animal food. That is, and we should go into that a little bit more. But I would like also to see how, in relation with this question, that is using animal food or vegetable food, and there is also another side, that is how the production of food may produce suffering in human beings first, when they are not treated as well, and in animals, and in the earth itself, because at the end, even when we eat salad, let's say, that is apparently the least possible suffering we might cause to another living being. But if to grow the salad, pesticide has been thrown in the field becomes just a desert. There is only salad and nothing else. So thousands of living beings have been killed for our salad. And this is quite factual, it's not just fantasy. So it's not, I think that in relation with this issue of the violence connected with the production of food, we should be aware that it's not as much the food in itself that we are eating that is producing violence, but is what is behind it, the mind, the violence that is connected with the production of food. So there is an enormous violence in the industrial production of crops like wheat or corn. In the States, I read that there are thousands of acres cultivated with only corn to feed animals. So it's corn, but that corn is very destructive. It's, one cannot think that just because it is a vegetable, there is no destruction behind it. It's destruction for the human beings that are working there, it's destructive for the land. At the end, it's destructive for all of us. So we have to be aware of the violence that might be connected with food, and there might be no violence at all in collecting the eggs from our chickens here, from our hens. They live quite a good life. They give eggs because this is their nature, and to collect some eggs from them, it represents really no violence at all. So these are things that are not immediately connected with the definition of the food in itself. Salad is a salad, egg is an egg. It's not like that. It's more complicated, and one should go into the intricacies of these things that are many, because this world is not so simple. And to go just shortly and a little bit into the question of health, diet, and scientific researches, what we see is that scientific researches very often has been possible thanks to the difference in diet of large groups of people. So researches has been done on vegetarian, researches has been done in China or in Indonesia, where people has different approach to food, or in Japan, and historical changes also has been explored. This has been quite interesting, and many researches has been going on during decades on a really large group of people, like 10,000, 30,000. Now is going on, I think, research in Europe that covers 500,000 people. So those researches has been done and are still done, trying to assess the diet of people and then following them for a long period of time that might become lifelong. So to see what comes out of a certain diet. So a diet that is low in fat or is high in fat, is low in dairy products and so on. And quite many results has been coming out of that. And of course, what now has become really popular is the importance of vitamin, antioxidant, and micronutrients. But there are other questions that perhaps are relevant and that are not so perhaps well known, as the importance of the quality of the fat we are eating, saturated fat versus unsaturated fat. For instance, olive oil or canola oil, they contain a perfect balance of saturated fat, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fat. So polyunsaturated fat are reducing the cholesterol in the body, and while the production of cholesterol is natural for the body, we need cholesterol, but an excess of cholesterol might become dangerous, and saturated fat that are typical of animal products are stimulating the body to produce more cholesterol. So this is another reason to choose rather vegetable food than animal food. And I don't know, there are issues as absorption of iron that, especially for who is not eating at all meat and dairy product, might become a problem. And this might easily be overcome. First of all, choosing foods containing more iron, and especially adding some vitamin C, a good source of vitamin C during the meal. So when in the same meal there is a good source of vitamin C, the absorption of iron is enhanced considerably. And because the iron from vegetable is not as absorbable as the iron from meat and animal foods. So there are, I don't think is appropriate now to go into all that. It would be too complicated. But I think that there has been many different kind of diets suggesting we should eat only raw food, or suggesting we should not eat at all animal food, or we should eat only cooked food as a macrobiotic, and so on. So all those diets, honestly, it appears to me to be somehow dogmatic or based on ideas and having not really contact with reality as it is shown by facts. And from this point of view, scientific research has been really very helpful, providing a lot of facts, not just and facts that are not coming out of a laboratory, but are coming out of the lives of thousands of people. So I really showing how our body works in relation with certain foods. And also we should consider that in relation with eating, we are not all exactly the same. Our body works more or less in the same way, but some of us are not intolerant against certain food. Some of us, they anyway produce a lot of cholesterol, while others, they don't produce much cholesterol, and so on. So one must adjust his own diet to his actual needs, not just to ideas that are the same for everybody. It's not really like that. And I think that from this perspective, it would be important to be sensitive in the relation with food, because at the end is our sensitivity that is telling us what is suitable for our body and what it is not. And the difficulty is, especially when during the young age we have been fed with a lot of fats, a lot of sugar. The difficulty is that our taste is used to those strong tastes, and we becomes almost unable to recognize weaker taste because it seems completely tasteless. So to find out how good it is, a good dish of brown rice, it requires some training. Perhaps it's not immediate, but it might be really a good discovery to find out the pleasure of eating one apple instead of something fat or full of sugar. It is also quite a discovery, but one has to find out it for himself, because if one is forcing himself to do a change, this creates a resistance, a sense of reaction, and on the long term, I see that it doesn't work. So one has to really make an inquiry even into food, not just to pretend to eat in a certain way. It will not work. So what we try to offer here with the food we serve at Casa della Pace is to gather all this into the way we cook, so to choose ingredients that are organic, that comes from place or comes from farmers we know that live nearby. And though most of our dishes is vegan, we try to satisfy the pleasure of eating, to offer a diet that is suitable for everybody with different options. And the rest is up to each person to relate with the food with awareness, with care, with respect. Yeah.
So you said something yesterday that I found very interesting about eating things because you think you should, and how that that creates a kind of separation or a kind of not integration. It's like if you're eating certain things because you think that this is the health thing to eat, that kind of approach doesn't actually work for the body over time.
I think so, in fact, that it becomes a sort of neurosis when we decide to eat in a certain way because we had been reading some books and we are following certain ideas and that sounds right to us. But we are not respecting really our sensitivity. And our sensitivity is not just the mouth. I mean, it's not just the sense of the taste. It's much more than that. It's how we relate to the food. And also, we are not all the time the same person. Mm-hmm. There are moments we need something more in one direction, and moments when perhaps we need even to fast or to eat very little. Mm-hmm. And to respect that is really an art. I see in children, just for instance, very often mothers that are worrying always quite a lot about their children to eat, and they sometimes even force them to eat, or there is the idea that they must eat every day and so on. But children, naturally, they go through period when they are not hungry, they don't like to eat, or they are going through period where they like to eat a lot. Mm-hmm. And to find out what is behind it, if it is something that comes really from an actual need, and to respect that, not force anything, but just go with it, or to find out if that relation with food is coming from a psychological disorder, some difficulty the child is going through, or we are going through, is very important. So, I think the main thing is really to keep this sensitivity in a broad sense, not just the taste, alive. And to keep the sensitivity alive, to accept some dogmatic approach to food is not helpful. Though every diet has been helpful to find out what a diet might be or might not be. I don't know, eating no meat at all, as veganism is suggesting, has been quite helpful to let us find out what it is, that kind of diet, what are the possibilities offered by the diet. And if the diet is well balanced and done with care and attention, there is nothing wrong with that. But in the same way, I think there is nothing wrong with it, for what concerns the health, at least, to eat meat once every while, or to have some piece of cheese or some eggs. Because it's not only the fact eating cheese or not eating cheese, but there is also how much cheese you eat. If you eat a huge amount of a little slice, it makes a difference. And when we go for the dogmatic, when we follow a dogmatic approach, generally it is either yes or not. There is no just a little bit or just a little bit once in a while. That is more difficult, perhaps, because difficult in the sense we must tune with how we are and with the food we are eating. So we must pay more attention. We must be aware. All those things that for the brain seems to be so difficult.
Because what I hear you saying is that there's an ongoing kind of inquiry with one's body, one's sense of well-being, that is how one develops sensitivity. Yeah. There isn't, I don't eat this and I only eat this, or some kind of trick for that. It has to be developed, like meditation. When you meditate, you don't sit down usually and have a free relationship to thought. It takes practice to keep letting go.
Yeah.
But so to develop that sensitivity takes practice.
Yeah, in fact, it's a good simile because when we go for a dogmatic approach to food, it's just a thinking process that is going on. Is the thinking process trying to control everything, and it's quite interesting to see what happens because it's the thinking process trying to control the processes in the body and the processes in the psyche itself. And this turns out to be impossible again and again and again, but again and again we try to do that. And we have, if we let it go, we see that there is no, this attempt of controlling everything is not healthy. On the other way, doing whatever passes through our brain is not healthy either. It's not that, I want to go a huge chocolate cake, I go for that. This is clearly not healthy. But there is another approach to that. And we have to discover what it is. That is, I think, connected with meditation, awareness. It is a family of words that is perhaps even not easy to grasp the meaning, because it is related to the unknown in a way. Even when we speak of food, it's not only the known. The scientific researches are giving details that I find important, but it's not the only thing that really matters.
I also appreciate how you're suggesting that we create a broad awareness of the systems, relationships, and so forth that we're in when we're eating, and how that brings a different awareness to even, I mean, that changes the sense of the food.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, maybe you would say this is a bitter taste and this is a sweet taste or whatever, and it would always be that, no matter if you're thinking about it or not. But there's a different quality when you're recognizing how, or when you're engaging with where the food comes from. And it also leads to different choices. You're in the supermarket and you have a choice of taking vegetables wrapped in plastic.
Yes.
Or the farmer
who's
selling it on the side of the road,
Yeah.
You can start to really actively make different choices.
Yeah, those choices at the end, they are producing a different world in a way. Even though are small things and those small actions that we do every day, at the end they matter a lot. And I don't know, this awareness of where the food comes from, to me, is even more important than the relation with my health. At the end, my health, it is important, of course, it matters absolutely. But if all my concern is going around myself, I'm supporting a sense of me being the center of this world, being the only thing really important in all the planet. But it's not like that. This is an unbalanced way of seeing things. But if I say that my health matters, but I must care for who produced the banana we are eating in the morning for breakfast. And if I have any possibility to know how the bananas are produced, and I see that certain bananas are produced in a way that is respectful for the workers, and others I may have the suspicion that they are not, I will never buy those bananas. I can skip bananas. I don't eat bananas. But if a banana is produced well, there is nothing bad with that, and so on. So there is constantly this relation with the wholeness that is going through food. Something that is much more than my little life. Not that my little life doesn't matter, but it is a part of a wholeness, and if we can see that this life is a part of the wholeness, then it reflects on the way we eat, on the food, and everything comes to its natural place by itself. There is no need of effort, dogmas, and so on. It is just, how to say, beautiful. As to go to a farm and buy food there, and to meet the person, coming to know him or her, and to see his or her child growing up, as we did very often around. And there is all a different sensation than going in a supermarket and having no relation with no one, because this is how supermarkets, they work all around the world, I think.
Right, right.
You have never, I had been in the supermarket in Città di Castello for years, and I see always the same people. I think I had never been really in contact with them. It is quite odd, but it's not so. It is supposed to be like that.
Right, right. And that's sort of a personal relationship with the cashier.
Yeah.
In the shop.
So it's not really directly connected with the food we eat, of course. Right. The food remains the same.
Well, but it is, as you're saying, it's what world are we creating or participating in?
And for what concerns food, we have to be aware that it's really an immense flow of money that is going with food. So there is an immense energy that is invested in food. And we are really, it is one of the major factors for the world being as it is.
No, it's interesting also with the coronavirus that all across Europe and the United States, the essential workers turned out to be the migrant workers who come and pick the vegetables, who aren't paid much, but in order that the crops didn't die, that in order that food could be produced, people had to be shipped in. The way which they do every year, they make their way across borders and so forth in order to do this work. But we don't pay them money in any real way or any attention. But that's part of the system that we're creating in the food that we choose.
Right.
So maybe if there's anything that you want to say to people who are preparing food with the recipes that you've given them or given us to be able to give to them, if there's anything that you would like to say to them, and then.
Well, I would say don't try to do everything, because perhaps it would be too much, but experiment with something. It would be nice if someone would make really home-baked bread. I would like to see it. Making bread is so simple, and in the same time is so challenging. There are small details may change completely the result, and it is so much expression of our way of working or kneading the bread or giving it attention and so on. So I think that experimenting with that and trying to feel where you buy your ingredients, what kind of people you meet when you buy your ingredients, where your ingredients are coming from. Just take the occasion for once, perhaps, to be aware of everything, not just of the result, but to experiment with all that in a broader sense.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was good.